Today we're going to visit the historic Bickel camp and the Burrow Schmidt's tunnel. These are in the El Paso Mountains in Kern County. Walter Bickel was born in Kansas in 1905 and moved to California in 1923. Walter first visited this area in 1927, filed his first claim in 1934, and moved here full-time in 1946 after serving in World War II. He manufactured almost everything he needed, was an explosives expert, and also canned much of his own food. In 1986, Walter suffered a stroke after BLM notified him that he may be removed from his claim. He was hospitalized in a rest home in Ridgecrest until he died in 1996. The site is now protected by caretakers who subsist on donations which are appreciated but in no way are required. Years ago, an actor from Hollywood was driving up Last Chance Canyon and broke an axle in his car. This car you're looking at. I guess by the time he walked to the top he was in pretty bad shape, and Bickel nursed him back to health, and he was so appreciative that he gave Bickel the car. Bickel later welded the axle together and drove it for several years until he needed it for parts for another project. He used the parts to build a drilling rig for a water well, which you can see in the background. This is the gang of four. From left to right, it's Cliff Allman, Tom McCarthy, myself, Jack Duncan, and Joe Porter, all retired from the Kern County Fire Department.
You get a lot of visitors, don't you?
Yeah, Mark has. Most I've had on a Monday is 30.
30.
The average for me is usually 2. So
Is there somebody here every day?
Mark
It'll be
lives out
busy
here.
up here this week because of Easter.
Yeah. Mark lives out here 24/7, 7 days a week, with the exception of when he runs into town. Beautiful. Five rattles on it. It was a nice, big snake. Very deadly snake.
Those are bad. Yeah, they're actually pretty aggressive.
They are.
What I hear.
From what I've heard, that's what I've heard too. They are very aggressive,
Yeah,
and they do.
they're not like a rattlesnake here. You got to be careful of them.
Was his mine up on top up there?
That is one of his mines. That was actually his last mine. You can actually walk up there if you're so inclined, and I don't recommend going in it right now. It's still sloughing. But that's one of the things that's Mark's negotiating with BLM to let him shore it up so that people can actually go in and see what some of the mines look like, because there aren't too many that you can go into, and that's actually a placer mine. It's not a hard rock mine.
Oh,
so it's completely different.
This was Walt's workshop. As you can see, he didn't throw away anything. He didn't believe that there was any junk. It was just material for building things. He also had his own solar water heater. He had a 55-gallon drum up on the side of the hill behind his house. Heated up the water all day, which gave him a nice warm shower every night. This was a heater that he constructed so that he could work out there in the wintertime. And actually he was real smart, I guess, when it came to constructing things that he needed, including the water well, drilling rig, putting the car back together to a point where he could drive it. He was a pretty smart man. Bob was the caretaker the day we came by. The regular caretaker, he had gone into town for supplies. Bob was real nice, real informative, and we hope to see him when we go back someday. You can see all the things that he had here. Tractors. This was a Fordson tractor. Never heard of that before, but now you've seen one. This is an old ore cart, and they've got hundreds of samples of rock and other things that you can look at.
That's like
Really
going
great
through
place to
Even if we
visit.
don't find that big nugget.
That's like going into a museum right there.
You'd never expect to find somebody actually living on it.
Yeah,
Place like this.
24/7. That's surprising to me.
Burrow Schmidt was born William Henry Schmidt in Rhode Island in 1871. The story is that most, if not all, of his family died from tuberculosis, and a doctor advised him to find a dry climate and work hard to strengthen his lungs. The rest is history.
When I came up was one room shack.
Yeah, that's what I remember. It's probably one of those.
Yeah, it's probably that last one or something of it. It worked.
And you could drive right up into his yard.
Yeah.
It's probably that last one there.
Yeah, I think it was just that old building right there.
Burrow Schmidt dug a half a mile of tunnel, removing over 5,800 tons of rock. This feat is considered the greatest one-man mining achievement in history. This is the rear exit of the tunnel, which gives you a commanding view of the valley. It's also a little more windy on this side of the mountain. Burrow Schmidt died in 1954 at the age of 83 and is buried in the Johannesburg Cemetery. And then I did something really strange. I missed the tunnel coming back. So I went clear to the end, and when it turned right, I said, "Oh, I missed my left turn." I went all the way down there.
You're a leader.